This is SIG P365 380 versus Smith & Wesson M&P Shield EZ380, a comparison. This video was filmed at Banner Range, and it was one of the last days before a incoming heat wave. So you're going to have to contend with some background noise. Let's hit the range. Way left, bottom left on the target, huh? In this video today, we are going to primarily focus on two pistols chambered in 380 ACP that are in the micro compact class. Now, in the range footage, you will see that we did include footage from the Ruger LCP Max, which is of the pocket class. We did that for those interested to see how the Ruger does against other pistols, though again the primary focus is going to be on the SIG and the Smith & Wesson on this video. The Smith & Wesson M&P Shield EZ380 is a internal hammer-fired, single action only, single stack magazine fed pistol chambered in 380 ACP. It is 6.7 inches long, 5 inches high, weighs in at 18.5 ounces, and features a 3.675 inch stainless steel barrel. The stainless steel barrel and slide have been treated with the Armornite finish for an anti-rust, anti-corrosion finish. The SIG P365 380 is a micro-compact double-stack striker-fired pistol chambered in 380 ACP. It is 5.8 inches long, 4.2 inches high, 1 inch wide, weighs in at 15.7 ounces. It has a 3.1 inch carbon steel barrel, and the stainless steel slide has the nitron finish. Both firearms have polymer grip frames, and they have rails for attachments, a Picatinny style rail on the M&P Shield and the SIG rail on the P365 380. Looking at our comparison shots, you can see that while they are very similar in width, the M&P Shield EZ380 has a longer barrel, longer slide, and a longer grip, and a little deeper grip we'll say, though again they are very similar in width, and both are chambered in 380 ACP. For sights, the EZ comes with a standard set of 3-dot white standard no night sight sights. They're functional, though they are replaceable. The rear sight is also adjustable. The P365 comes with the SIG Light night sights, which are a 3-dot sight as well, though these have a tritium insert in them, so they are night sights and will glow in the dark. Both sights I think are functional. Here's a close-up image of the rail and front slide serrations on the shield. There's not much of a front slide serration there. I think the front slide serrations on the 365 are much more functional and usable compared to those on the EZ. I think those are more cosmetic. When I try to use them, I'm more grabbing the frame or the slide and not those serrations at that point. Before we talk about more similarities and differences, how about a little more range time? Both the P365 380 and the M&P Shield EZ 380 are marketed as lower recoil, easier to manipulate the slide pistol for those who say are recoil sensitive or have other hand challenges, we'll say. Now let's take a moment and discuss those aspects of these firearms. If we do a basic field strip exploded view, we see they break down to basically the same components, though the main difference that we see is that the recoil spring of the EZ380 looks fairly anemic in comparison to the recoil spring on our P365 380. Now also keep in mind on the EZ380 we're going to be contending with the hammer spring when we rack the slide, which isn't apparent when looking just at the recoil spring. So there's that force to contend with and consider as well. Overall, I find it very similar in terms of the effort required to manipulate the slide on these firearms, though I do think the EZ380 has a very slight edge, and I think a lot of that comes down to the flaring that you see at the rear of the slide that gives you just a little more purchase to grip it a little better and manipulate a little easier, therefore. And since you can see it in the previous picture, we might as well talk about it. It's a feature I'm not a big fan of, but others probably are. They call it the tactile visual loaded chamber indicator. I think these are just another part that you have to maintain and account for. On some pistols I've had bad luck where the parts go flying and they're designed such that you don't get lockup without them, so you actually need it, and it's a pain in the yeah. But anyway, it does work on this firearm. I would prefer the face that gets exposed when it pops up would be red or something to be even more visually indicating, but it is there. It does work as advertised. Now let's talk about another feature we've yet to discuss, and that's the grip safety on this Easy Shield 380. It does have a grip safety. You might wonder why. In my opinion, I believe that's because this is a single action only hammer fired firearm, and the triggers on single action only firearms can be very light. I was unable to find an advertised trigger pull weight on these. Off my gauge I got 4 pounds 6 ounces, which seemed fairly consistent with the results that other people tossed out in the forum posts I found. Compared to the P365 380, coincidentally off my gauge this firearm has a trigger pull weight approximate 4 pounds 6 ounces as well. Now they are very similar trigger pulls in my opinion, though I do think the Easy has a little crisper break. Both are a little mushy, but the Easy is a little crisper. It has a little shorter reset, though I think the SIG has more tactile and auditory response on that reset than what is on the Easy. The Easy I think is very subtle, at least this one is comparatively, whereas on the SIG in many of our videos you can clearly hear that reset click when the trigger resets. Now before we jabber on even more, how about a little more range time? Now let's take a moment and review our targets. On the left hand side we have the Easy targets. In the middle we have the SIG P365 380, and on the right hand side are our Ruger LCP Max targets. We started the day shooting at the 8-inch splatter targets and then moved to the 6-inch, what I consider our challenge targets in videos like this. Now let's start with the LCP Max, just get that out of the way. While we have hits on target, I don't really want to call that grouping. In my opinion, I shot this firearm poorly today. That's 100% on the shooter, and just that happens sometimes. Though of mention is, well, if you shoot a firearm poorly on, say, the days where it's moving outside of the nicer weather and into the sweaty palms weather, and that firearm happens to be the firearm you carry in that weather, well, maybe it's time to reevaluate your choice if what you choose to carry in that weather you shoot poorly in that weather, for example. So on a day like today, the Ruger LCP Max, while I would be drawn to it in terms of its size and ease of concealability because of how poorly it performs for me in weather like this, because of how I can't grip it at all, it's not one that would be my first choice for me. Now moving to our EZ and the P365 targets, I think we have fairly similar groups. The SIG one, I'm going to say, is better by virtue of me practicing with that firearm regularly. If I practiced with the EZ half as often as I did with the SIG, it would probably be a better showing in this video by virtue of just being a little bigger all the way around, or at least length grip, to where I think I can actually get a little better accuracy out of that firearm in terms of a range experience. We started to talk about recoil earlier and then got long-winded talking about the effort to manipulate the slide. Anyway, on recoil, I find the pistols to be very similar in terms of the recoil impulse and how taxing that is, and I find it to be mild for both of them, even compared to other 380s, and I think a lot of that has to do with their size and their spring setup. Today we used the 10-round magazines in the P365 compared to the 8-round magazines in the EZ380. Is a 2-round difference significant? I'm going to leave that up to the viewer. Had we used the 12 or the 15-round magazines, I do think there is potential there for that difference to be quite significant as far as capacity goes, but capacity isn't the only thing, at least in my opinion. So far, for me, both pistols have been both accurate and reliable, and I think that goes a long way into having confidence in the tools that you have at your disposal. And while there are some features in one firearm I prefer over those in another, I do think both firearms are excellent choices, especially if you're someone who's a fan of 380 or you're recoil sensitive or any number of other reasons that would draw you to something like a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield EZ380 or a P365 380 done by SIG. Well, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.